This is News at 6 on WCJB TV 20, your local station.
A man is behind bars in Alachua County. Officers say he kidnapped a woman at a bar in downtown Gainesville and raped her.
And TV 20's Alexis Goings tells us the state is offering new resources to victims of sexual violence.
Gainesville police officers arrested a man accused of kidnapping and sexually assaulting a woman in a van after buying her a drink at this bar downtown. According to Gainesville police officers, 36-year-old Andrew Myers raped a woman 200 feet away from Lillian's on Southeast 1st Street. The victim told officers she woke up with Myers forcing himself inside of her in the back of a van.
When you hear something just recently happened right here, right where I'm having coffee, not that long ago, a girl was literally raped right there. That's a very atrocious thing to really think about, and it's very nerve-wracking. And those kinds of things just make me not want to go out. It's pretty scary. The victim's friend found her naked in the van after she tracked her location on a cell phone. The victim was taken to Shands, where she received a rape kit. FDLE Commissioner Mark Glass held a press conference Wednesday to announce a new tool that will be available for sexual assault victims to track their rape kits.
Currently, more than 400 kits are being tracked as we talk today, and they'll be moving through the process. I cannot emphasize anymore that this is truly an accomplishment for Florida and will give power to these survivors.
The database is being used in 41 counties across the state and will expand statewide July 2023. Myers is charged with sexual battery and kidnapping with infliction of bodily harm. In Gainesville, Alexis Goings, TV 20 News.